champ is here! The 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 champ is here!
Welcome to State Champions Podcast. Obviously, we're not live from the basement. We out on the deck, out in my backyard, enjoying this wonderful weather in the city of Detroit. I'm your co-captain, Raphael Peterson. To my right and to your left is co-captain George T. Ward. We decided we had to do a special edition about what's going on in the city of Detroit, G. Just one day ago, you know how things happen in the city. We decided to come outside because nice, unseasonably warm. We done had about 10, 12 straight days, 85 degrees plus. Unfortunately, G, in the city of Detroit, when there is days when it's so much sun and fun, violence tends to happen.
No question.
Gee, so I want to play this quick video. Hopefully we can get the audio, but we're going to talk about what happened after the Detroit Lions lost.
Yes.
And two men were fatally shot at a tailgate spot here in the city of Detroit. Very, very popular place, Eastern Market District. And just listen to this video really, really quick.
Eastern Market turned into a crime scene shortly after the Detroit Lions home game yesterday, and we just learned a second person has died after that shooting. CBS News Detroit's Jack Springate is live with an update on what we've learned in the past 24 hours. Jack?
Well, there are a lot of thoughts and prayers being shared online for the two victims of this senseless shooting. Yesterday, we reported that one person was killed and another person was critically injured in that shooting. Today, we've learned that second victim has died from those injuries. And that was the only update that the Detroit Police Department was willing to give us today. They're withholding the identity of both victims, as well as the suspect, an Oak Park man in his 30s. We won't release any of that information until it is confirmed by DPD. However, with all the messages of support and condolences on Facebook, it's not hard to get an idea of the two people we lost to gun violence yesterday. Again, police say this all stemmed from an altercation between a Detroit man in his 40s and the suspect from Oak Park. Chief James White says the suspect pulled out a gun as the two were squaring up to fight and fired two shots. The bullets killed the man in his 40s while also hitting another Detroit man in his 20s.
So, Gina, we just heard the video.
And
heard the audio of what went down. Obviously, we're not here to determine what actually happened.
Not at all.
Who's at fault, but obviously, at this point, somebody has lost their life.
Two people.
Two people have lost their life. And so, G, what's your thoughts when we were together? You and I were together. We was having a great time here in the crib.
No question. Yesterday.
Waffles,
chicken,
all
that.
little ribs. We had the whole thing, little drink. G, what's your thoughts when it comes to this senseless violence that just took place yesterday in the city of Detroit? Man trying to have a good time, and this happens. What's your thoughts?
Well, I want you to think about this. Guns, it's like you said, Eastern Market, popular place, popular venue to be at for the Sunday home games for the Lions. I'm wondering, why are the guns so prevalent? That's the one thing. And then the emotions that are involved. Once you're drinking, you're smoking, you got all these things going on. But why is it that there has to be violence? And so many times, and again, Eastern Market has been a wonderful place, and it's been very calm down there for the most part. We haven't had a lot of incidents, but what we do know is when there's guns involved, when people are drinking and people having a good time, some kind of way, somebody has to shoot somebody. Somebody has to have a fight. And then the fight just can't be a fight. It has to be a gun. And we look at yesterday, and we've seen some videos, unfortunately. The one thing that we saw is someone has a gun, another person has a gun, and someone has to die, and then an innocent man dies. And you saw the family, and I was at the balloon release, and you recognize the siblings, the children, and the family, and you say, God, you say two people are impacted, two families are impacted. Well, actually, it's three people and three families impacted by this.
Oh, for sure.
The shooter's family as
Niggas be
well.
your father,
And
you killing your son.
the lack of emotional intelligence at that time has destroyed three families. And again, I think the worst thing about it is when you look at it, where there's already a shortage of strong black men that we had in the 60s, 70s, 80s growing up. Now we got three families impacted by this. And now what do those families do? And that's the hard part about it.
Well, absolutely. When I think about it, G, when we were talking earlier offline, you and I, and you made a point about America's fascination with guns.
Yep.
And of course, the First Amendment rights and, the right to bear arms and everything that goes along with anything that you want to do. There's some type of amendment for those things.
Indeed.
But in the case of African Americans in this United States of America,
My God.
in the
Niggas be
urban
your
setting,
father,
There
you
you go.
killing your
we
son.
talking about Detroit, Chi-Town,
Mhm.
LA,
Memphis,
Philly, Memphis, you name
Atlanta.
it, Atlanta, you name the places. And we seem to be the ones that are predominantly being killed by these guns. And what
by each other.
by each other, absolutely. You have some events that we look at and you say, what can actually be done? Do you think that there's something that could be done
Niggas be your father.
with the violence? Because right now we critical time, election, and everybody's talking about right to bear arms and taking
Yes.
away guns, and I'm not going to take away guns, whatever it is. But what can be done to help or to stop this senseless violence in our community, especially here in Detroit?
Rab, we talked about this, during the pandemic, and obviously, both of us having COVID, and you in that situation over at Sinai Grace, and once you got out of that, we saw some of the things that was going on. I think the one thing that we realized is we gained even more we gained access to legal marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guns were given at that time too, and I think there were some things that were strategically done. So we got all these guns now, and our fascination with guns have always been there, but we didn't have as much access to the guns. Now we have access to guns, and our young people have access to guns, and now everybody in every situation has a gun. And when you look at it, you say, wow, how can we change that mentality? If I was going to the tailgating events on yesterday, maybe if I had, if I wanted to bring my gun, then maybe I left in the car. I don't know. But when I look at it, there's too much of a fascination with these guns, and now the guns have presented a situation where that is the first resort. This would be a situation where our uncles, our grandfathers, those gentlemen, you knew some guys that had a gun. But now it is almost as if, you know what, we're not going to fight. I'm going to have a gun, and someone, now when you hear of a fight, you know that someone is going to get shot. And if someone doesn't get shot, you're almost totally surprised. And I think our fascination with guns, black folk, let's call it what it is. We are the most faddish people in the world. Whatever trend is going on, we're going to jump on it.
So, gee, but and of course, I hear you. And so so basically you giving me a summary of what's going on,
Yep.
the guns, access, and the mindset. So then my thought process becomes, I am not going out to participate in these events because I view my life as too valuable. Because from what I understand, based upon what the information is coming out about the one of the young guys who got killed yesterday, when you think about what they're saying, they said he was not the intended victim.
He literally
Was trying to break it up.
Young brother, man, hell of a brother, 40 years old, freshly 40 years old. Rayshawn, popular dude, man, could dance, all of that. Never involved in foolishness. He literally was trying to break the situation up.
So see that's and when I think about that, G. So when people, of course, they call us all the time.
Yep.
You know, y'all coming out to the tailgate.
Yeah.
I just decided it was best for me
Yeah.
to build the beautiful edifice that we have here
Yeah.
and enjoy it with the close family and
Yep.
friends.
Because you can't trust what everybody is thinking.
And this is what I've heard on so many different stations today, different journalists talking, and you can't control the other people. And so when you having some small things at your house, in the backyard,
it's more of a controlled environment.
Live on the deck,
Yeah,
you can control the people that comes, and typically if somebody gets a little bit out of line, we typically can fix that. But it's rare in our case that we have those incidents. So for me, attending a tailgate party down in the city of Detroit is out of the question for me personally, because again, I cannot control the environment of the people. What's your thoughts, G?
And I don't go, and obviously, like you said, people have asked, hey man, you coming and whatever. But I think the biggest thing is this has been a situation where it hasn't been a problem. We haven't had problems as it relates to the tailgating, and people have had a wonderful time. You see all the pictures, and a lot of our close friends have been down there. Obviously, D goes down there all the time, and we've had some close people who actually kind of sponsor some tailgating events. I think the one thing that we got to look at is, and we got to say, and we got to really, really start to train people is, man, you got to be able to think in certain situations. When I look at the alarming videos and photos of that situation on Sunday, it's amazing how we could go from really a minor situation to we're going to skip over everything, and now weapons are produced.
Well, gee, well, here's the problem. Of course, it's going to be that way because one, when you have broken families, you have broken people,
Yep.
and so, and typically out of those families come broken men and broken women.
Yes.
Broken children, broken boys and broken girls.
Wow.
So they grow up to be adults, and they're
still broken,
and the trauma that they go through, they do not know how to deal with.
No doubt.
Incidents that take place. They don't have the de-escalation skills.
Not at all.
To make sure that they're doing things to say, hold on, wait a minute. Good brother, I don't want no problem with you. I apologize, whatever it is, we can fix it.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't lose two lives, yours and mine. See, my man Jigga said that best, and I love that line. But when you think about it, G, people always say, well, people can change. It doesn't seem in this case that our people have not changed. So again, you and I, we were here with family and friends eating waffles, chicken.
Got the picture.
Got the pictures. We got games. We had a great time.
Couldn't believe what I was looking at.
Couldn't believe, and we got the picture, G. And what we saw, and I think, well, that's another thing, a whole other thing.
Yep.
The pictures should not have surfaced out on social media.
Nobody should have posted on social media.
No, they should have never done that, and it's unfortunate. But people at this time and in this space, they want a little, bit of attention and want to be the first to put things out.
Yeah.
But we want to definitely send our prayers to the family members, the two young men who lost their lives, but also being conscious of that. I can tell you one thing about what has happened. They said the guy was a CPO holder.
Indeed.
But it doesn't make a difference about that, because what my understanding of being a CPO holder is if you decide you're going to discharge that weapon, you are absolutely responsible.
Indeed.
For where those bullets go.
Yeah.
And if you are trying to shoot someone who's harming you, then
you have to shoot them.
You got to shoot them. And if you shot somebody else, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Well, also, you got to think about the alcohol involved.
Of course, alcohol is all.
And
We toasting now.
And again, we don't want to speculate or anything like that, but you have to think about if you are carrying, you can't be over. I think it's 0.2. As far as drinking is concerned, alcohol is concerned. But
Mhm.
I'm thinking about it, Ralph. And again, our prayers go out to the two families of those gentlemen. But again, also the family of the perpetrator. What are his family members thinking of right now? How are they feeling right now?
Yeah.
And I know some people around them that are probably saying to them, man, I can't believe he did that, and so on and so forth. So, and I'm probably sure the guilt that he's feeling, but more importantly, what has occurred in your life?
Niggas be a
when
father.
you get to a
killing your
point as an
son.
adult male, and you're willing to let everything go, your
Well-
freedom, everything.
Well, because CG, I said it earlier. See, when you grew up in a broken home, you become a broken person,
Mhm.
male or female. So then, and you don't know how to deal with conflict. And see, when you don't have that male figure there
Niggas be a father.
to guide you,
killing your
say
son.
everything cannot be settled by a gun. So what happened, I can just, and this is just purely me just
Yep.
seeing, they said it was over a
Parking
parking space.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure like the city of Detroit owns the parking space.
Yeah.
So, but this leads to my point.
Mhm.
You come from a broken place.
Yeah.
And when you're broken,
Where that has that much value.
where that has that much value, well,
Man, I'm good.
your
Niggas be a father.
dad, who
killing your
probably
son.
wasn't there,
Yeah. Yeah.
your mother who was raising you,
Yeah.
you settle everything with violence.
With violence, some type of argument, and
No type
Yeah.
of emotional control. See,
And-
this is what it comes down to, the lack of emotional control. So I see that, I say, to your point, what would make a person, a man, I'm sure he probably has kids,
Mhm.
mom, dad, nieces, nephews, to get to that point to shoot a guy over a parking space and not have the concern for another's life. Go ahead, Jim.
Rav, I want you to think of this. And your dad talked about this years and years ago. We had conversations with him. But I can remember reading something, listening to Charleston White one day, and I sent it to my sons. And, I think about JP, we sitting here, JP, watching the game. What is your son, man? And your only son. And we kind of kicking it. And Charleston White said, the coolest dudes, you just about can always look back and see their father somewhere. They saw their dads. And at some point, the coolness kicks in. Hey, brother, I'm good, man. I didn't get the parking space. Even if I was sitting here waiting on it and you came in at Bogart, whatever, at some point, it's like, man, I'll go park somewhere else, because I understand we're not even about to get into an argument. And the one thing, when I go talk to young people all the time, I say, listen, now you have to avoid the argument.
Yeah,
people
for sure.
People talk about avoiding a fight.
Yeah, for sure.
People talk about avoiding the guns and putting the guns down. The one thing now we have to get into is telling our young people, avoid the argument, because now somebody, during the course of this argument, emotionally, they're not going to be able to handle something.
The emotional intelligence. But see,
That's it.
Here we go. But we're in the city of Detroit, and I'm sure some other urban places, Philly, like you said,
Oh my
Memphis.
God.
So some young man is going to say, what do you have to say, G, to a young man who says, oh, he ain't going to punk me. He ain't going to disrespect me.
Well, the one thing, Rav, was crazy you said this. I promise you, it's crazy to talk about this right now. I just told somebody on Saturday, I said, man, as men, the one thing you can't do with these young boys is send them out into this world and they're not comfortable with themselves. I just talked about this Saturday. So when you're comfortable with yourself, we've been around each other for over 40 years now. It's crazy to say that. I've never looked at you and said, man, is he for real? What is he tripping about? Because at some point, it's like, man, I ain't about to argue with my man about nothing after it's all said and done. But everybody can't handle that, because like you said, they take everything as disrespect. And if you haven't seen a man handle that, and again, Raph, after it's all said and done, 70% of our homes, if not north of that, are governed by our women. And now what you see is a lack of true masculinity with our males, because arguing really is feminine within itself anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you start off and you look up and you see these dudes arguing, you thinking like, man, what the hell are these dudes arguing about? Well, you are here with some ladies and you're watching the game, or you just watched the game, you're having a good time. What can distract you from that so much where we end up in this space? Well, as you see, and I've seen girls do it all the time, and we've seen our aunties and all of that, and aunties and my mama, oh, she cussed somebody out, and now our males are acting like that. And when you talk about it, Rev, you talked about the young boys and they're going to hold me. Look at all the teenage boys in the last 4 to 5 months, really longer.
Yeah.
All the situation. I think this is a great segue for that. And we pray for the families of all three of the gentlemen that were involved on yesterday. But you think about this, Rab, talking about somebody hoeing me. I have spent enough time as a teenager, enough time kicking it over your crib on Burwood, kicking it with D, kicking it with Hardy, all our guys. And guess what? I never, ever could imagine arguing with your mother. If your mother said, George, you got to sit down and eat this spaghetti and shut up, I would have done it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't care what was going on. I don't care if the spaghetti wasn't good. You wouldn't have disrespected her. How does a 15-year-old boy, as we saw in the last 72 hours or so, is being charged with murder of the mother of an acquaintance of his, an attempted murder or whatever the case may be, on his acquaintance, and they were having conversation, dialogue with one another. The disrespect and the lack of emotional intelligence is literally destroying us. So you think about it, 15 years old, and he killed a lady intentionally.
Yeah, it had to be his friend's mother.
It was his friend's mother.
Okay. So this again, so we're going back to this same point. And obviously that story that you just shared is incomprehensible. Okay.
Is that more horrific? I want to think about this. We've talked about the situation from Eastern Market, and that's obviously it's garnered a lot of our attention in the last, 30 hours or so. Now let's think about this. A 15-year-old killed his friend's or acquaintance mother, and then attempted to kill the friend at 15 years old. And then when they say, well, he's had a lot of run-ins with the law. Who has failed these males? So let's get to the core of it. Here's State Champions Podcast. Let's get to the core of it. You've been coaching basketball, playing basketball your life. Now we got to coach the people. Who has failed these gentlemen? As I was at a funeral of a 14-year-old the other day who was killed obviously by another young black male and shot another male obviously during the course of this situation. Who has failed these young people?
Well, I can tell you from my perspective,
Niggas be a father, you killing your son.
who has failed the young people is the black male who is not present. So when the black male is not present, brother,
okay,
you are going to have chaos. And so
wait a second.
I'm talking about mad
Rab,
chaos.
you said chaos. You know what chaos is extreme.
Well, this is extreme
There you go.
behavior that's being displayed with our young people across the country, G. So when I look at it and I think about the black males, the young black males, and the fathers not being present.
Wow.
So I'm going to solution. So the
Yes.
problem is the black male.
Yes.
The solution is we have to do, this is not about black family development. This is about black family redevelopment, because we were strong as a group.
Yep.
And we have to stop teaching our young men to lay down, have babies on Friday nights,
oh my God,
after drinking,
Yep.
hanging out with a young lady,
Yep.
doing what they do, and 9 months later, you have a boy or a girl. Well, now when she approaches you with that situation, you tell her, I was only having fun. Well, the problem becomes, here's the full circle.
Yes.
Having fun has just produced another human being. And so when you do not have any intentions on being with the girl, you just created a broken home. And I started this conversation by saying
broken home
produce broken people.
You said it.
It's not coincidental. So now we have all these other things they're sliding in place of what they called back in the 60s the nuclear family.
Ooh.
Male, female, boy, girl,
Ooh.
dog, cat, or whatever you had.
Ooh.
See, the nuclear family is being replaced now. And so when
Yes,
it's being replaced either with 2 males or 2 females, it doesn't make a difference. See, too much water, will kill you.
No question.
Too much masculinity definitely will kill you.
Yeah.
But too much feminine energy will kill you too.
No, it's killing us.
Yes. So then we have to have a balance. We have to get back to the Black family redevelopment.
So when you talk about restoration, again, it's crazy you said that, because I said the Black family has to be restored. But the one thing that I think is standing in our way, and it's kind of crazy that we're dealing with this right now, and it's election time. The one thing that I think is our women of today, obviously the men of today are not what our grandfathers were.
Of course.
But the male has oftentimes been, so single Black mothers is not a new phenomenon.
No, it's not. Not at all.
So, and this is what people don't want to talk about. Our women of today are not nearly what our grandmothers were.
Mm-hmm.
So, and oftentimes I've heard women say, what happened to y'all? What happened to men? Well, I think one of the things that happened to us is, one, our women have changed. Our grandmothers are not, I got so many lessons from my grandmothers. I got so many lessons from my mother, so many lessons from my aunts, so many of them. It was ridiculous. And I had strong Black men on both sides of my family, and thank God for that. But I had so many lessons, and those very women upheld the rules and regulations that the males had set forth for me. So It was never a time where they were enabling me to do anything wrong. And it was never a time where I felt like the rules were ambiguous. The one thing that I'm looking at, and we can't keep dancing around it, and our men have been too damn afraid to talk about it, but they whisper about it in the barbershops and they talk about it in locker rooms. We recognize that our young men have been over-mothered and under-fathered. But this is the crazy thing that we aren't talking about. Our girls are in disarray right now, and nobody wants to say, it's because we could say, okay, well, the males are, they're not what they're supposed to be. These little boys need their dads, and dads need to step up. Well, what the hell is wrong with our girls then?
Well, it's a combination of both. But I want you to say, going back to the point of what's missing, and it's that redevelopment of the Black family. See, everything you just described is nothing but the redevelopment of the Black family. You said that your aunties upheld the rules of the fathers and the uncles of the family.
I've gone to a funeral of a young man at 14, 15 years old a couple years ago, and the young fellow was in a gang. And the mother and aunties, everybody wore the color of the gang. And I was so confused, because when I looked at it, I said, this is the very reason he's dead. And I looked at it and I said, the one question I asked, I said, well, where are the men? And again, I was talking to Bishop Darrell Harris today, and we always talk about structure. And the one thing that you can see inside the Black family, when the male isn't there, they're 95% of the time, especially right now in our country, 98% of the time, the structure is not there. And you can see the lack of structure and discipline within the young child after you've interacted with them for about 5 or 10 minutes. And now, as I'm looking at everything that's going on, I'm looking at these moms, and what happens is once a child gets 10 or 11 years old, they realize, and they won't say it to anybody because it's tough for them to say it, they realize, something has gone wrong, and they can't do anything about it. And now those young men become teenagers. And Lord, it is tough to see when I hear these moms wailing at these funerals, when I see these mothers wailing and grandmothers wailing and aunties. And what I look forward to see is some man come step forth and be that solid figure, that figure of discipline and structure. But I realized if that figure of structure and discipline had been there, then we probably wouldn't be where we are right now. And it's the hardest thing to watch, man, as I watch our young people die every single day.
Well, and obviously being in the business that we're in terms of violence intervention and being in the schools and things of that nature, you being a coach, and I'm a retired coach at this point, we see the lack of discipline and structure. But again, at this point, the question was, who is letting the family down? And so now what we have to do, there has to be a mad push to redevelop the Black family.
Where do we start?
I say this, great question, because I ask people this, people never ask me the question, but I always pose that question to a lot of people, and everybody, every single time. Now, this is an informal.
Okay.
This is an informal study over the last 25 years. I said, if we was going to start to change the Black community, who would you start with, male or female? Unanimously.
Oh, no, there's no question.
Unanimously, unanimously, they said the male.
Yeah, everybody says that.
And so I said, wait a minute now.
They're wrong.
I said, here's the reason why I wouldn't start with the male. See, the male can be and will always be influenced by the
what
female.
And whom? Yep.
And so I made this parable to the people then, and I will make it now. See, if girls came out and said, listen, we don't want the guys who selling all the dope, carrying all the guns, scamming, skipping school, robbing and killing, disrespectful. We don't want none of those guys. We want the little square guy that got a little job, talking about his future, and he can maybe get my nails done sometime. We can go out to eat sometime.
But he ain't getting no trouble.
He ain't getting in no trouble.
Okay.
See, if we took that person, that young lady, and that young lady said, I don't want the guy with the Balenciagas and the Gucci that. Hold on, man. Let me just spin it. And so all these things. And the girl said, I like guys who have on red pants and green shirts. We had Christmas all around this.
Hold on. The first 2 weeks. And I ain't buying none.
The first 2 weeks it's gonna be some bucking of the system.
Yeah. But then when they realize that those young ladies are serious,
and that's where it comes in. If the young ladies just formed a pack, and said, "This is what we're going to do," and they stuck to it and they meant it, they can change the community overnight. But I want to go back and just think about this.
Okay.
Because a lot of people talk about, some people going to say, well, you can't take guns away. They here and that, and everybody has guns, and a lot of people getting killed throughout the community. You have mass shootings. But the fact of the matter is this, G. Our community, it's being affected at a higher rate than any other community in this country by far.
It's not even, you're right. It's not even close.
But you have to realize, you have to talk about these things, because people say, no, it's you can't take away the guns, or y'all looking at the wrong thing. But when we look at this, I have to get some numbers. These numbers came out, and I think this is 2021. 15,290 Black people were killed by gun violence. That was in 2021.
Okay.
I didn't find the 2022 numbers. The highest number on record. Black Americans are 2.5 times more likely to die from gun violence than white Americans.
Easy.
Listen, young Black Americans ages 15 to 34 experience the highest rate of gun homicides. Black Americans are 3 times more likely to be fatally shot by their counterparts.
Wow.
NSCGC, nobody. So we have to stop the madness, start the reconstruction, start to sit down with our women, our girls,
Oh man.
and have a discussion.
Oh, man.
Where do we want to go? Do we really want to fix this? Because if we don't, the saddest thing is that's going to happen. We're going to become extinct.
Listen,
People don't believe this, that we're going to become extinct. I know it sounds far-fetched, but we're going to become extinct.
well, because once there's only a few of us left.
Oh, yeah, for
They
sure.
can they can come in, and I'm not an exterminator or nothing, and I've never lived in a house with roaches or mice, but I'm sure once you dwindle them down to a few, you can just go, you can kill off the rest. Now, see, if you got a whole lot of them, then it's going to be a bit of a problem. And the more we make sure that we're killing each other, we go to prison, right?
Uh-huh.
And now they've infiltrated us with so many different lifestyles that are not conducive to reproduction and all this kind of stuff that's going on. You listen to me carefully. Extinction definitely is on the horizon. And it's crazy because, again, I've said this before. My book, On the Verge of Extinction with a question mark. I said this 5 years ago, and I'm saying to people now, if you don't think about the way that we're rearing our children, then you're a damn fool. And I think the hardest part about this is, Raph, when you look at it, the criminals, the violent criminals are getting younger and younger.
Oh, it's not even
They're getting younger and younger. And as I sat at a funeral on Saturday, and I thank God for that family, and we're praying for that family as well. Young Darian Davis and his mom, aunts and grandmother, again, and that's kind of crazy within itself. But I sat there and I looked at everyone, the young people. The funeral has become an event. And what I'm telling you is the violent crimes, the murders of teenage young boys specifically, you are looking at a situation where this has become like the event to go to, and everybody is so jovial, and they're concerned with what they're going to wear. And what I spoke on the other day is the fact that there were very few young people there who looked uncomfortable. The people who attended that homegoing service of this young boy, the teenagers looked too comfortable for me, and they looked
familiar.
And it was almost as if the funeral had been ritualized. I'm looking at people, and they're doing rituals.
It's expected.
It is expected, and so now they get younger and younger, and you're looking at the young men around, and they have no idea what their roles are supposed to be. But what I look at more than anything is the fact that some of these young men, the perpetrators, are living lives so violently and doing so many disrespectful things and got so many things going on that there's no male within the family structure to say, hey man, we're not doing that. No, you ain't getting that. You're not putting that on your body. You're not getting that particular tattoo.
Yeah.
You're not doing any of that. But now they're not there to do it. And guess what, mama? You are allowing this to happen. And it is torturing your children. And I remember Jay-Z said in Meet the Parents, I remember at the end of the song, Rapper, me and you talked about it. It's one of our favorite songs. And he said, niggas be a father. You're killing your sons. And black people, yes, we're not pulling the trigger, but we are killing our children. And how dare I look at us and I see all the tears. I see some of these men, and they're drinking liquor, and they had a red cups at these balloon releases and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, hey man, you shouldn't shed a tear because you didn't do a damn thing to save this boy when he needed you to save him. How dare we disrespect the mothers, the aunties, the grandmothers by now acting as if we're concerned? Because if we were truly concerned with this boy, you would have grabbed him by his neck at some point to save his life. And it's the one thing I'm saying, Raph, and it's the crazy thing about it. And you and I have been accused of this forever. Forever, since we've been almost late teens, early 20s, people have said, man, y'all just mean and y'all this, that, and the third. Well, I think each of us have 3 children. And the irony of that is none of the children have been involved in anything that would be considered life-threatening or do anything to kill anyone or be involved in gang activity or anything like that. And the one thing that I know is the strict father has now been snatched away, and we're even rearing our sons and raising our sons to not be the strict father because we want to appease everybody in their emotions. And the one thing I'll say is, man, at some point in time, the women in the house and the children of the house are not supposed to like all of your decisions. And so what? Because it's for the betterment of the children, betterment of the family. And we got to get back to that. And if not, please, man, we should go into the funeral business or become some type of attorneys or something.
G, I'm going to end it on this because you just triggered a vein. Niggas be a father because you're killing your son.
Wow.
Meet the parents. State Champion Podcast. We out of here. We had to do the special. But again, fellas, niggas be a father because you're killing your son.
Killing your
Meet
son.
the parents.
The champ is here!